You wake up one morning and realize something strange. For the first time in 40 years, there's no alarm. No rush. No office. No one expecting you to show up. It should feel like freedom, but instead, it feels like you're standing on a cliff with no map. You're retired. Everyone tells you retirement is the dream, the reward for a lifetime of hard work. But what no one warns you about is the quiet that follows. The routine you've built for decades, gone. The purpose that kept you moving, suddenly it's silent. And that silence? It's louder than you think. The truth is, most men aren't ready for what comes after the paycheck stops. Not financially, not mentally, not emotionally. Because here's the part no one talks about. Retirement isn't just an ending. It's an identity crisis wearing a gold watch. You were a provider, a leader, the guy everyone relied on. But the day you retired, your title retired too. And that's where most men fall apart. They wake up one day with everything they thought they wanted: time, freedom, space, and still feel like something's missing. Because they never asked themselves the most important question: who am I now? But here's the good news: that lost feeling, it's not failure. It's a signal. It's your mind telling you that your next chapter hasn't even started yet. And once you understand how to rebuild meaning, purpose, and momentum after retirement, life gets exciting again. You just need the blueprint. Before we dive in, if you're a man stepping into this next chapter and want to stay strong, mentally, financially, and emotionally, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below saying I'm ready. Because today, we're not talking about slowing down. We're talking about rebuilding. All right, let's get into it. The first thing most men get wrong about retirement is this: they think happiness happens automatically once they stop working. They think the problem was work, the stress, the hours, the grind. But the truth? The job wasn't the only thing keeping you going. It was the structure. It gave you a mission every morning, a sense of progress. Take that away too fast and the mind starts to drift. Think about it. For decades, every day had a purpose. You knew who you were, where you were going, what you needed to do. Now, the days blur together. It's not laziness. It's loss of direction. And the worst part, most men won't admit it out loud. So here's your first aha moment. Retirement isn't freedom unless you replace your old structure with a new one. You can't just remove responsibility, you have to redirect it. Because a man without something to build eventually starts to crumble. But what should you build now? That's the real question, and it's where most guys get stuck. Some try to fill the space with distractions: golf, TV, endless tinkering. Others chase the feeling they used to get from work by starting new businesses, sometimes just to prove they still can. But the men who thrive, really thrive, after retirement, they don't chase their past identity. They evolve it. They start seeing retirement not as the end of work, but as the start of autonomy. For the first time, no one's telling you what to do, which means you can finally design a life that fits you. Not your boss, not your schedule, not society's definition of success. Let that sink in. You get to decide what your second act looks like. But you have to decide on purpose, or someone else will decide for you. The first step? Rebuild your routine. It sounds simple, but this is where the comeback begins. Wake up with intention. Have goals for the day. They don't have to be massive, but they must be yours. The brain needs direction, or it starts rewriting a story called I'm done. And you're not done. You're just getting started. Here's something powerful. Studies show that retirees who set structured daily goals are up to 40% less likely to experience depression within the first 5 years. That's not random, that's purpose at work. You don't have to be busy. You just have to be engaged. So ask yourself, what did I always want to do but never had time for? Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's mentoring younger guys. Maybe it's traveling, fixing old cars, or finally learning guitar. The activity doesn't matter as much as the ownership of it. But here's where it gets interesting. The happiest retirees aren't just doing things. They're contributing again. There's a huge difference. Doing fills time. Contributing fills the soul. Think about it. Every man deep down needs to feel useful. It's in our wiring. We're builders by nature. And when we stop building, even for good reasons, the mind starts to rust. So here's a little challenge. Find one thing that makes you feel valuable again. Not needed out of obligation, but valued out of choice. That shift is what brings life back into your eyes. But let's talk about something men rarely discuss: the relationship shift after retirement. Because when you change, everything around you changes too. Maybe your wife's been planning this chapter for years. Maybe she's been running her own rhythm while you worked, and suddenly you're there, all day, every day. The dynamic changes overnight. What used to be a peaceful home can start to feel like a pressure cooker. You're both adjusting to new roles, and if you're not intentional about it, small frictions can become major cracks. So here's another insight. Retirement doesn't fix your marriage, it magnifies it. If there were unspoken resentments before, they'll come to the surface. If communication wasn't a strength, the quiet will feel louder than ever. But that's not a reason to panic, it's an opportunity. It's your chance to rebuild your connection without the noise of the old life. The best way to do it? Shared purpose. Do something together that's new for both of you. Take a class. Volunteer. Build something. When you create side by side, the energy changes. It stops feeling like two people retired and starts feeling like two people living again. Now, let's switch gears, because there's another silent killer of retirement happiness that no one talks about: financial anxiety. It doesn't matter how much you've saved. The moment that paycheck stops, something shifts. There's a quiet fear. What if it's not enough? Here's a truth bomb. Even wealthy retirees feel that fear. Because money isn't just currency. For most men, it's control. And when your income changes, so does your sense of control. But here's the fix. Stop thinking about money as what you spend and start thinking of it as what you leverage. Use it to buy peace, not things. Simplify your expenses. Eliminate noise. Automate what you can. The goal isn't to stretch your money, it's to stretch your clarity. Because a clear mind makes better decisions than a fearful one ever will. And here's something most men overlook. Staying physically strong is directly tied to mental health after retirement. You don't need to become an athlete. You just need to stay in motion. Because motion creates energy. Energy creates purpose. And purpose keeps you alive. It's not about chasing youth. It's about protecting vitality. Think of your body like your vehicle for the second act. You wouldn't drive across the country on an empty tank, right? Same logic. The stronger your body, the longer your freedom lasts. Here's a small win you can start today. Walk 20 minutes every morning before the world wakes up. Don't scroll, don't rush. Just walk. It sounds simple, but that quiet time clears your head and sets your rhythm. After a few days, something happens. You start getting ideas again. You start wanting to build again. Because deep down, that's what retirement is really about. Building your next version. Not settling. Not shrinking. Evolving. Now let's talk about regret, the silent weight that drags so many men down in their later years. Maybe you think it's too late to change something. Too late to fix a relationship. Too late to start something new. But here's a secret. Regret only wins if you stop moving. Every man who found peace after retirement didn't do it by looking back. They did it by starting small and staying curious. That's the real key, curiosity. The moment you stop asking what's next, your second act starts fading. So stay curious. Try new things even if you fail. Especially if you fail. Because failure isn't a setback anymore. It's proof you're still in the game. Let's bring it full circle. You didn't come this far to fade away. You came this far to finally live on your own terms. And yes, that takes courage, because freedom without direction feels like chaos at first. But once you rebuild purpose, routine, and meaning, retirement stops feeling like the end of something and starts feeling like your first chance to be yourself completely. So don't wait. Don't drift. Don't let the days blur. Decide today that your second act starts now. Because the truth is, the clock isn't counting down anymore. It's counting up to the life you finally get to design. And if you're ready to live it with purpose, clarity, and strength, hit subscribe. Join the men who aren't just retiring, they're reinventing. Welcome to the Second Act Blueprint, where your next chapter begins.